the computer, and I'll just do a quick intro. Morning, welcome to this Manage Your Workload with Outlook online training session. I'm really looking forward to working with you all. And as I've said a few times, Outlook's a great program, but incredibly underutilized. And we want to think about how we can now use Outlook to manage our workload. So from email, not just from email, into tasks and then into our calendar. But it's not just email, it can be, as we'll see today, your to-do list in Outlook. So, here I go there. That's better. So here's what we're going to cover off. Some to-do list principles, which you might find useful. Setting up your to-do bar. So this will take us a fair bit of the session, I think, just using the to-do bar in Outlook and the task bar, but I'm going to focus on the to-do bar and how then you use different views, various ways of you creating a task, recurring tasks, emails and tasks. That's what I was saying before. Then even assigning tasks to others. So this might be helpful in your team, Petra, not so with Margie because it only works internally, doesn't work externally, unfortunately. Categories and tasks, and then how do we then look at planning our time using our tasks. So I've spent probably 30 minutes this morning just getting my to-do list in order because you know, come a weekend and all that sort of stuff, it was a bit like you, Petra, never quite got everything done on Friday, and I tried not to do any work over the weekend. So this morning, I just, you know, opened my task list. It was not out of control, but there was just too much on it. So I just had to reorganize it. So some principles around to-do lists, and I'll just expand on just a couple of these. So I'm a big fan of just one list, and I use a little play on Lord of the Rings here. One list to rule them all. So rather than multiple lists, and you can see I've put it in a sticky note, so that, and my point here is avoid multiple lists. It's not that you couldn't have a to-do list for personal or to-do list for work, but multiple lists, to-do lists written down everywhere on bits of paper or sticky notes is never going to work. So one list, and I've worked with so many people who have just created too many lists, and yeah, in fact, just I think early last year, I don't know, time's just gone this year, I don't know, I don't understand it. So gone so fast and yet it's gone so slow. It's weird. I'm pretty sure it was last year I worked with a lady who was just like impossible deadlines, and she was just not coping with her to-do list. And I asked her, well, show me your to-do list. And actually, she couldn't show me her to-do list. And I said, well, what do you mean you can't show me? You said you had a lot on. She said, oh, yeah, I've got lists here, lists there, lists everywhere. I can't actually show you my to-do list. And I've got stuff in my head, the whole bit. And I actually said, you know, one of the things with having just one list is, which helped me this morning, is right, you can see everything. Now you can just, it's about prioritizing. What can I do? What can't I do? Whereas if it's everywhere, it's actually really hard to do that. And it tends to immobilize you a little bit. So I like using my Outlook list for that. So you don't have to, but that's obviously what we're going to focus on today.
Jeff, can I just ask you something about that?
Sure.
I was trying, well, after our catch up a couple of weeks ago, I actually thought, how can I manage this? So I have one list, but then have a separate list for each day of the week or working week. So then one list for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So then from the master list, copying things into the days where I've got capacity to actually get that task done. So I've kind of started doing that. So when you're talking about one list, you have one master list and then you move it to the days of the week, like which items to do. Is that something that you would recommend, or is that overkill?
You can do that. So how are you recording that? In a book, Margie, or like you've handwritten note?
So one master list.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then just copying it, you know, the tasks for each day into the day of the week. And then any that are carried over, I then move into the task list for the next week. Like, you know, for Monday, you have one task list for Monday, Tuesday,
Okay. I might answer that question by showing you how I do it.
Yeah.
So that is one, without knowing exactly how you're using the to-do list or how you're creating that list, it might be hard to just answer it. But if I show you my list, you'll get the idea. I have just a running list, some recurring, and then I move them to different days, as you'll see. So that's why I was saying, when I show you my list, you'll probably go, okay, I didn't know you could do that. perhaps. Yep, got it, Petro. I understand. So prioritize your list, and I'll show you how to do that really easily in Outlook. One thing that, and this is not necessarily Outlook specific, this can be, but it's not necessarily either, but identify and eat the frog. So Brian Tracy talks about identifying your frogs, and he doesn't mean your chocolate caramel frog. He actually means the big task that you don't want to do, of which I have a few this week that I'm going, and I've had to look at those this morning and go, yep, okay, I'll block time out for them. So yeah, really those tasks that you avoid doing, think about knowing what they are and doing something with them. Break down complex tasks. So I'll show you how I use OneNote for this, but I break down my complex tasks into smaller tasks, and I had to do that for tomorrow, so you'll see that. And my last thing on this is just don't rely on your memory. So, which I don't think either of you will be doing, perhaps. I certainly think, Marg, sounds like you've written everything down.
I don't trust my memory.
What's that? Don't trust your memory. Well, yeah, in actual fact, I don't think you should either, because I've seen so many people that do rely on their memory to remember some things. And the problem with that is you end up with suffering from what's called the Zeigarnik effect. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but it was discovered by this lady here, Bloomer Zeigarnik, so it became named after her. But essentially, it's your unconscious mind asking your conscious mind to make a plan. So if you, or put another way, really, when you decide to do something consciously, your subconscious mind won't let you forget that. So yeah, it's basically that waking up in the middle of the night thinking of something you didn't do and thinking, I didn't do that. Subconsciously or even consciously, you thought, I need to ring, this client or do that, but you never wrote it down. So
that's me. I do that all the time.
Okay, right. So this is why I'm saying this here, Petra, because that what that means is you're not writing things down enough.
Okay.
All right. They've got to be written down somewhere. I think Outlook, but at least write them down.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Because otherwise you'll end up, and look, I can really quickly, this was a couple of years ago, but I was working with a guy who is a coordinator, local government. A lot of my stories are local government, but this guy's a coordinator in trees. And I was doing some coaching sessions with him to help him manage his workload. First session, I asked him about all his work and what he's doing, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've got lots on," and you could see it was all over the place. And I didn't twig straight away that he never had a notebook with him. So we were talking about stuff that he had to do, and he never wrote anything down. And it didn't actually resonate with me straight away or register with me straight away. Anyway, for my second session, a week later, I said to him, "Okay, so we'll call him Peter. How did you go, Peter? And everything I asked him to do, he said, "Oh no, I've just been too busy. I haven't had a chance to do that, and haven't had a chance to do this." And I said to him, and then it registered with me. I realised he hasn't got a notebook with him, and he's not writing anything down. And in fact, I think he might have had it with him, but he wasn't writing it down. I said to him, "Oh, Peter, so tell me, how do you get things done? Like, how do you remember things?" He said, "Oh, I never forget anything." So this is a true story, right? Now, I knew that wasn't true because he'd forgotten everything that I'd asked him to do, all right? Or he'd said he'd never had time. So I said to him, well, I gently reminded him. I said, well, you hadn't done this. Oh, yeah, no, I forgot that. And you hadn't done this, and you had. So I reminded him of 3 or 4 things that he was going to do. And I said, tell me again, how do you make sure you remember? He said, well, my brain's always going, I always just remember things. And I said, would that mean sometimes in the middle of the night you wake up and think of things you have to do? He said, oh, all the time.
Yeah.
So ideas are just popping in all the time. And I said, that's not a way of managing your to-do list. What you need to do, and like it was an amazing, like eye-opening thing for him. And from there on, for the rest of our sessions, he bought his notebook, he wrote things down, totally changed the way he managed his workload. And he had too much on. It was, he couldn't manage everything. But anyway, I hope that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, just on that, Jeff, that happens to me a lot too, but I find that because I don't have a team, I'm working by myself, obviously, that I can have 20 phone calls for different clients
Yeah.
And you literally don't get a chance. You're making notes as you go, but you don't get a chance to really articulate in such a way where it's in anything meaningful. You're just kind of scribbling down key points.
Yes.
And you never kind of get back to it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I just need to not take the calls and then actually bring people back so I can get my head around the last one. But that is my day. Like I'm literally fine going non-stop.
Yeah. And I think, Margie, obviously, Petra, Margie and I know each other from previous working lives. So I think knowing you, you're very responsive, which is then fantastic. And you're running your own business now, which is great. But that can be your, it can be an Achilles heel for you. So what you suggested there actually is not a bad suggestion. The other thing I would add to that is with your note taking, it's got to come out of there into your to-do list. So you've got, I use OneNote as my to-do list, not my to-do list, but my note taking. So it comes out of there straight into my to-do list.
Yep.
Maybe I'll show you a little bit on that as we go through.
Yep. Thank you.
But I think that's a really good point. If you're not ready to take the phone call, you're like, maybe don't take the call. Let it go to voicemail until you're ready to get back. People won't mind for you to ring them back. If you don't ring them back, they'll mind, of course, but yeah, you will. So ring them back when you're ready. Like I know that it wouldn't worry us if we rang you and asked you to, and you weren't available. We know you're going to get back to us. So you only worry about people who you ring and then they never come back to you. You have to ring them again. So yeah. So the advantages of an electronic list, which is where I'm going to, encourage you to use. You only have to record it once. You can include a due date, change it. You can categorize personal work, some projects, client, whatever. You can add notes to each task, so flesh out the task with particularly bigger tasks. You can insert hyperlinks too in that whole process. Assign it to other people. That's what I was saying with Petra. She could assign it to others in the team. You synchronize your list with your smartphone. So this is one thing I love. I use a little program called Microsoft To Do, which synchronizes with Outlook. So straight on my phone, I can just record what I have to do. I should have time to tell you this. I actually talk my tasks into my to-do list. So that's really, really quick. And then I convert emails into tasks as well. So I've got one list. I don't have an email list as well as a task list. I've just got one list. Some of them are emails I have to respond to and so on, which sort of comes back to what we did last week. So I'm going to jump out of here now and jump into Outlook as I do. And just going to pop my to-do list up here. I had it up here and then when I had to restart, oops, sorry. And my little meeting thing has got in the way. My I just hate that the Zoom meeting thing has got in the way. Come on, get over there. That's better. All right. I usually have that set up early. All right. So here's Margie, what I was saying. It's easy for me to show you how you can customize this list. So you'll no doubt have questions on this. Petra, in the last session, I've did a lot of changing of my Outlook views. So you'll want to go back and look at that later, but I won't redo that now. Okay. So typically what you'll be viewing is this. I'll just go back to my compact view. It doesn't change this, but it does do this. All right, but I've customized my view. So I'll leave it at that. But that's what I covered last week. So the video link that I sent you. So let's focus though on the to-do list. So Margie, here's the list. Without seeing your to-do list, this is one list. Everything that I've got to do is in this list. But notice how it's grouped. So it's grouped by day. So here's my to-dos for today only. I've collapsed it all. If I want to go and see my to-dos for the Thursday or whatever that, Friday, that's it there. So I can move things between them, but I usually just have today and tomorrow up. I usually don't have all of them up because there's so many in there. Because I end up with a short inbox or a small inbox, but a long to-do list. And some of these are going to, we talked a little bit about flags last week, didn't we, Margie? So some of these are flags, like that one's a flag, that one's a flag, that one's a flag. These have come from, but they're in my to-do list as to-dos. Anything with a little red tick is a task that I've created. And I'll just show you a few things here, how easy it is to move it. And this might just answer your question then, Margie. So let's say I was going to get back to this guy here with a little video. I've got to get back to some ideas. I've booked it in for tomorrow. But let's say I changed my mind. I wanted to do it today. I can drag it up to today's list. So quick, change the date. There it is there. Or drag it back to tomorrow. Any of these, I group them as well. So you can see how I've got it. I sort of have a bit of an idea of how long most tasks are going to take. I actually put a little time limit in there, not time limit, but a time frame, not on everything. This is a personal one that I'm just chasing up, and I've categorized my list. I see the status on each one, and obviously they're grouped by the date that I set. So, and then I can prioritize. So my high priority ones for tomorrow are at the top of my list, and my high priority one for today is at the top of my list. So I'm not sure how you were doing this, Margie, whether you were just using this list here or going into tasks and creating a list here, because that's the other way of doing it, of course, in here. That's the same view. So I can view exactly the same. So what it's predicated on really is from your mail screen. I use my mail screen mostly, but you can use your calendar view as well. This is called your to-do bar. So I want to show you how to set this to-do bar up like this. So if it's not showing, what you need to do is go up to view from your inbox, let's say, or your calendar, but it'll do the same. But let's go from your inbox, go to view, go across to your to-do bar and turn on tasks. So now, this is now about setting this list up. So you may have, if you've been using email flags, you may end up with a lot of red flags here.
Yes, I've got loads.
Okay, right. So thank you. That's what I always say that because I know. So what that means is, well, certainly I think from your point of view, Petra, I'm not sure, Margie, for you, but what that usually is every time you flag an email as important in your inbox, it appears in here.
Yes, it does. So yeah. What would you recommend? I suppose just get rid of them all, I would say. Just
yes.
Start afresh.
Start afresh, clear the flag. You might want to go back and look at some of them. I'll show you how to do that. So, but it doesn't delete the email. You just want to clear the flag, perhaps.
Yeah.
But before you probably do that, you probably want to do it from the task list. It's easier to do it from here because you can see more information. So if you click on tasks, go into this list. It won't quite look like this, but you'll probably have, if you go to your task list, make sure you're viewing under current view your to-do list view, because there are different views. So if you're viewing your to-do list view, then if you're not seeing the whole screen like I am, go up to view and just take your reading pane off.
Okay.
So now you'll see a little bit more information on that, Petra, and that's where I would look at some. So the order of this, by the way, just so you know, before you make too many changes, the order of this list is anything with no due date goes to the top. These are no due date things, all right? They've got no due date, so they stay at the top. You can collapse or expand that group by left clicking on that little arrow. No due date first. Then anything that's overdue goes next. So this one here, if I made that yesterday, that would go next. Oops. So if I expand that out, and this is what you've got then, Petra, all your red ones go next. And then then they start to follow on in date order after that. So if you scroll down and down, down past all the red ones, you'll see that ones due today, etc., will be there. Now, how people get themselves into trouble with the flags is and I sort of said this earlier, they flag emails as important, and then try and manage it from their to-do list. From their, I presume this is what I usually see. They, flag emails and go, oh, flag, that's important. And then you try and come back in your inbox and flag and follow them up from here. But actually, if you use your to-do bar, when you flag it, it flags by the date you set. So let's say this one here, if I just use this as a test, if I was to left click on that, you'll see, I'll just drag this one down to today. If I left click on this, you'll see it'll drop straight into my to-do list. There it is here. Just drop straight in. Now, Margie, you remember last week I said just use the 4 Ds. Once you've actioned it, this is the defer. I've deferred this now to today, so really I should have done it maybe for tomorrow. But by clicking on it once, it actually just marks it as a to-do for today. If you right click on it though, you can choose what day. So I could say that's next week or tomorrow. Let's say if I marked it tomorrow, it obviously goes into tomorrow. If I right click on it and go next week, it'll go next Friday, or this week would go this Friday. You can go into custom and then choose what date. Well, I need to do that on Wednesday, let's say. So I'll click that for Wednesday. Therefore, it goes into Wednesdays now. So here it is here. So that's a better option than just left clicking everything. And by the way, then now that it's in for Wednesday, although I'll make it Tuesday just so I can see it. So now that it's in for Tuesday, I don't need it in my inbox anymore. So I get that out of my inbox into my big bucket, Margie, which we talked about last week. So I don't have it in two places. In other words, I'm not scanning up and down trying to find the things that I've marked as important. I've marked it as a task. It's important. It's in my to-do list. Then I can open it up. It's opened up on another screen. Open up another screen. Then I can go, yep, done. Okay. Once it's done, of course, then I can mark it complete. And I'm just showing you all this. So I'm going to show you how it's all used. But you can right click on anything that you've put in here. Once you've done it, right click, mark complete, and it drops out of my list. So now back to you, Petra, from what you said. I would be looking at, if you think, oh, they're just all, tasks, you've got to be careful you don't want to lose them. So that's what I was sort of suggesting. You scroll down until you find, maybe the last month's worth of stuff, and then keep those in your to-do list. But then everything, but pre that, just highlight them all.
Yeah.
So you can choose the last one you want to keep, sort of thing, and arrow up.
Yeah.
Select them all that you want, and just click on this remove from list. All that does is clear the flag.
Yeah.
It doesn't delete the email or anything or the task. It just clears the flag. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Particularly if they're only all flags.
Yeah.
And then it is better to start again, I think.
Yeah.
So you're right with that, Margie? So now I'm going to go back to this list here, but you could run this list too. I'll get back to that in a moment. And I'm just going to show you now how to customize this because what makes this work, and out of the box, the problem with that, with flagging things in that list there is you don't see the due date. They're not even grouped by date for you. They're ordered by date, but they're not grouped by date. And that's my point, Margie, about saying if you group them by day or date, then you can actually do something with them. All right. So I'll just collapse all. By the way, you can collapse or expand them all by right-clicking on that little arrow, collapse them all, and then expand the ones you want to expand, which is what I tend to do. So I just don't. It's not that I don't want to see these other ones. I've already looked at them this morning and decided what I need to do this week. So that's how I would do it, Margie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of these are recurring tasks. If I go to Friday, I've got a few recurring tasks, but they're all things I've decided this week that I need to do. Okay, so let's customize this list. You've got heaps of possibilities, all right, but the easiest way to do it is to point your mouse up here at where it says arrange by flag due date, right click, and go down to view settings, and opens up this advanced view settings to-do list.
Can you do that again, Jeff? Sorry, I was just trying to get.
Oh yeah, that's all right. So you point your mouse at where it says arrange by flag due date.
Yep.
Right click mouse, go down to view settings.
Yep.
And it opens up this dialog box, advanced view settings.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll note on this here is you've got a lot of columns available to you. So if we click on the columns, I've got columns selected, grouped by due date, sorted by priority and status. So we're going to open up columns. We're going to go into columns. So now in this box here, I get to see what columns I want to show in this list. So you can see the possibilities, right? There's a lot of columns that you can actually select at your will, at whatever you want. So we'll just go with the ones that I'm suggesting first, but know that you can go and select others, all right, or customize them whatever way you like. I found this easier to select a few columns and then get rid of all the ones that we want in one hit, all right? So we won't worry about removing anything yet. We'll just get the right columns. So the ones that I suggest you grab are icon. They're all alphabetical. So grab icon and just add it, or drag, left click and drag it over and drop it. And go back the other way if you want. So icon first. Find priority. Drag that over. You can even just double left click if you like. When it's in here, just double left click and it drops over. Icon priority. I use total work, but you don't have to worry about that. Maybe leave that out for now. I want to try and keep it fairly simple for you to start with. You can add them in later. Task subject is already there. Due date should already be in that list. I would grab status, take that over, and categories. And then I would sort of get it into the order that I have here. So icon first, priority next, task subject, due date, status, categories. And then to get rid of all the old ones, the ones that you're not going to use, you can just use the add remove to bring them over to the left-hand side, or just double left click on them, or highlight them all and remove them. There's a few different ways of doing it. So you end up with just this, with the ones you want to keep. When you've got that list, you can click OK. Now we should be back here. And so you're up with me now? Yep. So group by now, go into the group by box. And unselect or uncheck the automatically group according to arrangement. Unselect that box. And in the first drop down, choose due date. We want to sort them by due date. So select due date.
Mine's actually got nothing to choose from. It's got none, group items by none.
Did you unselect the top box first?
Yeah.
And you're saying there's nothing in that drop down?
Yeah.
Okay, just go cancel back out of that. Have you got all your columns selected here still?
Yep.
I've got it.
Okay.
Not showing off, obviously, but I do.
Just go back in there once more. Well done. Go back in there once more, Mark, and just double check. Otherwise, we'll just... Still nothing in there?
Now it's spinning. I wonder if it's going to crash.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's what I was just...
No, it's still none.
Okay.
Oh, no,
so,
sorry. Now it's up. Now it's up.
Okay.
Yep.
Might just be running a bit slow.
Yep.
So select due date, and it'll default to ascending, which we want to leave that. There are other options here, by the way, which I wouldn't worry about. You can group them by this and group them then by this, but it gets a bit hard to look at, so I wouldn't worry about that for now. So click OK. So now it should be grouped by due date ascending. We go into sort. And on the sort box, you can just, first of all, on the top one, hit your P key and priority will come up. So just hit your P key on your keyboard. It should then sort by priority, and that'll default to descending. And I do use the then by in here. So then select status in the next one. I think you can hit S and it might come up too. And that should be ascending. And then you can click OK when that's done. So we should have columns selected, group by due date, sorted by priority, descending, status ascending. Just 2 more changes to make in other settings. Click on other settings. You should have the top 3 boxes already selected. So that just leave that. I would change the grid line and group headings to solid rather than, I think it says no grid lines is by default, I think. So click the drop down and select solid. And then one more change, we're done, then we're done. Under other options, you should have use compact layout selected. Just unselect that box. It will then go to always use single line layout, which is what we want, and you can click OK. There's a lot of other ways to format columns. We'll worry about that another time. Click OK. So what that should now do is compact your list up a little bit. So what you'll end up with is this. Actually, it's that way. It'll end up like this. So what you now have to do is just sort, give yourself a bit of room on this one, by the way. So it might be over here. I devote 1/3 of my screen to my to-do list. And then I work my way from the right-hand side to make sure that my task subject, I make sure I give myself most room on that. I'm just changing the due dates. Just making sure I can see everything clearly. You can sort of muck around to your heart's content here. And you can see I'm using colors and all that. That's for another day, I think, but we'll see. We may, there's only 2 people on, we may get a chance to do that.
Sorry, Jeff, I can't see status on mine. I'll see if I can figure out how to go. Oh, there it is. Sorry. No, I've just moved it to a different area. That's okay. Categories. Yep, okay.
Well, it is actually easy, Mark. This is the order I've always gotten used to, but if I want to put categories right at the front, you can just click and drag it and resort it wherever you like, all right? So I might put it there. I just like to have the categories towards the end, but that's just a personal preference, right? So you can drag it from here, but any of those can be dragged left, right, or if you don't want a column, if you don't want to see categories, you can right click and remove that column. I just like to have different types of work articulated for myself, so they group a little bit like that, so I know where I've got, like tomorrow's a bit of a prep day. I'm not really taking the day off, so that's one of the problems with living on the border. Got work happening on both sides. So I'm now going to show you how to actually use this list. But just really quickly, what does that look like for you now that you've got, hopefully?
I just need to take all the flags off so that I can actually get it to work and get that my due date's right. At the moment, everything's overdue and and get categories done as well. So you're going to cover off on categories and you'll suggest.
Yep. Absolutely. So just going right across here. So couple of things. Firstly, the categories. Then let's just look at categories now. So what categories enable you to do is, categorize your work. So if you open up, if you right click on any one of those areas, it'll open up all your categories, right? If you're not use categories, it'll just be red category, green category, whatever. If you go all the way down to all categories, then these are my categories I've used. You can create your own. You can rename a yellow category to something else. So what I've tried to do, Margie, is think about, I use it for everything. So I've got some personal stuff happening in here as well, which that may not be what you want to do, but for me, it covers everything. So I maybe have too many categories. I don't know. I'm always sort of trying to sort of get this right. But I've got administration, business improvement, some church ones, that's a personal one. Coaching, I've got, some of them have got colors, some don't. I don't put anything on my families. These are things that are, just, I use, because categories goes across all Outlook items. So I use some of these categories like family in my contacts. So all my contacts have got categories as well. And I've got all my family as a contact. So that's what that's there. It's not really for my calendar or anything, or for my to-do list. So you can just rename a category or delete them all and start again. Whenever you go into all categories, you can just basically just either rename, create new ones and give it a color. Doesn't have to have a color. So I don't know, do you use categories, Petra? Doesn't matter if you do or you don't. It's just...
Sorry.
That's right.
I don't use them as much as I should. I'm well-intentioned.
Okay.
And disorganized.
That's all right. Well, they do help. So if you look at my to-do list, all my website ones, that's one I use a lot, are in order. So when you categorize them, they actually sort of start to sort. Outlook automatically sorts it. So unless we've got it sorted by what's in progress and then what's due. So I've got mine sorted by things that have not started, in progress. So these are all, the reason these are grouped is because they're all in progress. So I've got a bit of time to muck around with my website tomorrow. So they just go in here. You can sort by category too, if you like. Otherwise you can move things up and about. I tend to, like all my prep ones, I've got them all sorted there. So yeah, it's just a way of ideally seeing it. And when you convert it to your calendar, any of these to your calendar, the category stays. So as you'll see in a moment. So to change the list around, and Mark, if you've got a lot of red ones, so you'll want to overdue this, and I understand why you wouldn't want to just mark. You've got to look at these first, so that's fine. So, but you can change the due date on any item, be it a flag like this one, or a task, which we're going to jump into in a moment. And if you left click in that item, it'll bring a little drop down. You click the drop down and you select the date.
Can you make you can make a recurring date, can't you?
Ah, yes. I'm going to show you how to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll show you recurrings in just a moment. So, but firstly, changing the date's really easy. If you want to move it to the next day, and this is what I use a lot, like say I'm not going to do this for Matthew today, I can drag it to tomorrow. So dragging up and down, if you've got the date showing, is really easy to move dates around. Or you click on that item on the drop down and change it from in here.
And with the reminder time, like I've selected that as one of my fields.
Right.
It doesn't look like you've got a calendar to change a reminder.
No. So I personally don't use the reminder time, Margie. Okay. So this now comes back into, well, do you use this as a time-based thing? I use it as a to-do list. If it's time specific, I'm going to put it in my calendar, but I'm going to do it in a particular way. So if you now go to your calendar, I'll address that right now. If you go to your calendar, here's my calendar for the day, but notice my to-do list is up for the day as well.
I've got to remember how to get that to view, actually.
Yep.
So,
up to view.
Yep.
And go to do bar.
Yep.
And turn on tasks.
Great. Thank you.
So now, oops, sorry, I went to the wrong one. I wanted to go work week. Now, what this does, Margie, so just to take that step, if I put in here, let's say I'll just create a task. Well, let's say I've done this morning. This is what I've done. Work on website. I'll show you exactly what I did. Here's what I want to work on tomorrow. A bunch of things. There's a few things in my to-do list, so I'm going to get through as many of these as I can. I might not get them all done, but I'll get as much as I can. But what I did this morning when I was just getting ready for this is I looked at that and went, okay, I need some time. I've got some time tomorrow. So that website changes, left click, dragging it to about 2 o'clock. And then I expand it out to, because I'm giving myself a couple of hours. So you can see how that for me, Margie, is what I would do.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, just click and drag, block the time out. It automatically goes to half an hour. So often what I'm putting in here, and in fact, if I go back to last week, you'll probably see some examples. Call this guy. Oh, Robert. Well, you'll know who this is, Petra. So call Robert. So it was on my to-do list to call Robert. I just dragged it in. I allowed 15 minutes, but that was it. That's exactly what I do. Just drag it into time slots. So if it's time, that's why I don't use the reminder time. And the other reason I don't use that, Margie, is if you end up, like if I look at my to-do list this way, I know, maybe this is what you were talking about too, Petra. I know that, this afternoon, I've got some prep at 1:30, so it's not messy. Like I try, because my time is my time. I can't just have duplicate, schedules everywhere. I have here because that's for a reason. We've got 2 invites, but it's the same meeting. But generally speaking, I try and avoid double ups because I can't do 2 things at once. I'm only a male member. But in all seriousness, none of us can do that, so it's better to actually go, oh, I need to put that in here and drag it in here. So if I wanted to make that phone call, pop it in here, drop the time out. And that to me is pretty powerful. And because the category is personal, it automatically goes through to personal on my website. Sorry, on my calendar. So the color stays the same. So the other point about that was, let's say I had to make all these phone calls today with some clients I had to ring, and they're just in my list. I could be on a call and suddenly I get another, you got to call Jeff, oh, okay, and call Margie, 3 or 4 things coming out at once. how do I cope with it? I don't know, because you can't see the reminder time in your to-do list. But here you can actually see, yeah, okay, I've got to prepare for my session at 1:30, or I've got to ring Margie at 1:30. So it's easier to look at your time and go, when do I have to do that, and drag it in, rather than have it as hidden in your to-do list as reminders, because it could be anywhere, because the due date and the reminder time can be separate. So I hope I've explained that, Margie. It's better, I think, to put it in here without a reminder time, but then know, oh, I've got to get back to the Microsoft rep. Well, when? So when can I do that? And try and find a time to do that, and then drag it into your calendar at that time.
And whatever category colors you have is what it goes straight into your calendar as.
Yeah. Yep, because these categories go across calendar, tasks, even your emails as well. So and contacts. So they go across all items. Yeah. So so going back across here, the status. So we did categories. I think you're happy with categories, Margie? Is that, and Petra, you happy with that? As long as you understand how it works. Once you've set your categories up, like I say, you just have to right click here and all your categories will come up. Well, most of them. If the one you want doesn't come up, you have to go into all categories down the bottom and choose it. But as I say, I'll probably need to clean mine up a little bit. And I have started, actually. I've started to get rid of a few and gone, I don't need that many. If I could get it to, what's this, about 10, then they'd always be in that list.
So, Jeff, just when I'm in the calendar view, like you are now,
yeah,
the categories, I can't right click on a task and it won't allow me to assign a category. If anything's not started, it won't allow me to assign a category. Is that right?
So can you repeat that?
Before I can, no, this one's
no.
letting me do it.
Right click, is it? You're doing a right click? Yeah. As long as you do a right click, you should be able to choose your category for that item.
Yeah, so I've just got it. It's just coming up grey saying clear all categories, and I haven't actually assigned any. But then if I go down to one that's, I'm just wondering if it's because I haven't put a due date on it. If you don't put a due date on it, will it not allow you to assign a category?
No. If I take this one off here, just take the due date off here. I'll just check it. So it's now at the top. No due date. Right click on it. No, it should.
Yeah, actually, I wonder if it's got, like, when I look at the actual status of it, it's got like an arrow pointing to the left that shows that I've replied to an email. And it was actually 12 months ago. So once you reply to it, does that mean it's just sort of intuitively saying we've already dealt with it, so you don't need to categorise it because it's done? I don't know.
No, maybe after the call, Margie, when we finish formally, I'll just have a quick look. You can share your screen. I'll just double check that.
Okay.
It shouldn't do that, but there may be something I'm just missing with the way it's set up.
Sorry, I won't hold you up. Yeah.
No, that's okay. So the status then. So we've done that. So come across here to the status. So here's what you can do with the status. Left click on any item. So it could be a flag or a task. If you left click on it, left click on it here, it'll bring down 5 statuses or 5 potential statuses. So not started is the default. In progress is good. So they'll group, remember they're going to group by status. So if you've started it, change it in progress. Completed will knock it off the list. So only do that when they're completed. If you're waiting on someone else, that's a useful one because you can see it. I've got like here, I'm waiting for someone to come back to me. So it's in as a follow-up, something to do with my website, but someone's looking at it for me. So I can see at a glance, follow-up. You can have more than one category, by the way, but that's, I could change that. In fact, I should change that to waiting on someone else. So that one there, I should change to waiting on someone else, which would then, because I've got it sorted by status, it goes to the bottom because I've put a follow-up on it there. So I've got a category as well as a, so the status, really useful. I'd love using the status and having them grouped by status. So I know the ones that I'm just either waiting on someone. And so Petra, some of the things you said before, really useful to use that waiting on someone. So they group that. Then you can go, hey, I need to do some follow-up here. Why isn't that person come back to me? And then, so that's the status. The due date I've already showed you, so you can left click on any item in the due date and change the due date. The to-do list, oh, so I've changed mine, by the way, but this is task subject. So the task subject is not the email subject. So here's a really interesting one. So when you flag an email, let's say I'll do this one here. It's not something I want to do, but let's just say, Linkford video. So I'll left click on that. It goes straight into my to-do list. So here's pretty much what I'll do. Left clicked on it. This is someone just doing marketing. So I'm going to drag that out. This would be the process, put into my big bucket dealing with dealt with. It's sitting in here, Linkford video. Well, that may not tell me what I need to do with it. I might want to ring this person up. It may be enough, it may not. But what you can do is you can right click on it. Remember, this is an email. Right click on it and rename that task. So if I rename the task, rename the task, it goes into edit mode. Actually, it's going into that there for some reason. But if you left click on it a little bit, left click on it once, and left click on the words again, it goes into edit mode. So now I can add, call to say no. I'm not going to do this, but just for the heck of it, Now notice that if I open that up, it has not changed the email subject. The email subject still says Linkford video at the top. But in my to-do list, it actually says call to say no. Problems working from home. You've got people coming in. So can you see that, Petra? It's really useful to be able to change the email subject.
I'm really slow at getting back to mute. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm just working on the other screens. Every time you ask something, I'm like, oh, where do I go? Anyway, so if I'm anyway, yes, I can see that, by the way.
Yes. No, that's good. So it's a really useful way of just, making sure your to-do list represents what you need to do. So you don't want it just to be the email subject, or particularly if it's not specific enough. So get used to left clicking on it and go into edit mode. Sorry, Mark, I don't know if you caught that. I know you had visitors, thanks.
Sorry, Jeff, I'm going to actually have to come back and listen to your recording later.
That's all right.
That's right. So you send me through the link. I apologise. I'm going to have to.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. See you, Margie.
Thank you so much.
Oh dear. This is the old challenge, isn't it? Working from home, and that's all right. So Petra, it's you and me.
Oh, yeah. Well, and also I've got to say, because of course my kids are here today.
Yeah.
Because
is it a public
bridging
holiday?
day at school, and they were supposed to go to the out of hours care, but that was shut down because there wasn't enough people. Even though I don't know who are these people taking a holiday after 8 months of lockdown in Victoria, but hey.
What are we going to do? Go to the lounge room or something?
Well, yes. So they've been screaming in my ear. So yeah, it's been hard to follow along. So sorry, Jeff. I feel like I haven't given enough attention to this one.
No. It's fine. It's absolutely fine, Petra. So hang with me. If you have to, I'll keep going so that Margie sees this. But yeah, I love the fact that I can change that.
Yeah.
All right. And then really instantly, it just does not change the email subject. So even when you open it up, you can reply. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to now. The next thing to do is the high priority one. We'll come back to marking this complete in a minute. But the high priority one means if you left click, it's only a very small field. But if you left click on any one of these, so I'll left click on this one, it actually reveals low, normal, or high. So you can change this priority of any one of these items. If I click on low, it'll stay at the bottom of that list. left clicker, if I make it high, it'll go to the top, joining that one. So they'll just group. Or if I make it normal, it'll just come back to where it was. So it's really easy to click on any item and just, so what I tend to do, is you can probably see in my to-do list, the ones that I have to, that I really have to do, will go to the top of my list. I mean, I also, you know, make sure they go into my calendar, so I've blocked time out. So, I mean, these will go straight into here. So I've just dragged these in straight into here. But, you know, let's say, you know, it takes me longer to do these proposals, or, you know, I get visitors as well. Well, if that doesn't get done, okay, well, maybe I'll have a crack at it on Thursday, or, you know what, it's no urgency about it. So maybe I'll just put it all back to next week and look at next week and see where I can fit things in. So it's pretty easy to manipulate this list. And so if I think back to what I did before, or what I said before in my introduction, it is one list, but it's easy to prioritize the list and just move things around. But you never have to write that again. Type it again. You've typed it once, it just stays there. So now that we've done that, I want to now add tasks to this. So at the moment, we've just been doing flags. So now let's talk about adding tasks to the list. I'll jump back to my inbox maybe. And then we'll just add tasks. So to add a task, there's a couple of ways to add a task. So have you used tasks before, Petra? So sorry, I know you've muted, but.
Once again, not effectively.
Right, but you have created a task.
Haphazardly is the best way to put it.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's all right. So good. So you know how to create a task. That's the main thing. So there's several ways.
I know how to create it, but that's probably as far as it goes with me. Then managing it afterwards is where it gets a bit lackluster.
Yep. Okay, so we'll do it from this list here, but you could do it from this list here as well, tasks. Several ways to create a task. The easiest way, if you go up to, if you go up to your, not file, sorry. If you go up to new items, so we're in here, if we're in your inbox, you go to new items, you can create a task from here. And you'll also notice there's a Control-Shift-K, so you can do Control-Shift-K. There's a shortcut key, but that's from your inbox. So if you're in your inbox, you can go new items, new email message, new appointment, or task. But if you've clicked on here, that actually new items is not there anymore. The ribbon changes because now it's looking at this. So the easiest way to do it is to click on the under task subject, click in here and just start typing. So you can type I'm just putting here ring Petra. And then if I just hit enter, that's might be all I want to do is just capture that moment. I need to ring Petra. So hit enter and it's straight into my list. I'll show you another way of doing it. If I double left click, it opens up a whole new task. Now I could put in here ring Petra, the same, but now I've got some more options. And this is where I really find the task list invaluable. And so we're going to go through these a little bit. So I can now select my due date. The start date, I don't worry about it, just defaults to today. So, but I can select my due date now, whatever date I want. I'll just leave it for today. And so Margie asked about the reminder time. So this is where I don't use, but you could put a reminder time on it. But for me, if I have to do something at a particular time, it's going in my calendar, from my task list into my calendar, most likely, or sometimes straight into my calendar. But then also, I can also change the status. So straight from in here, I can change the status. I can change the priority. And you've even got, percent complete or whatever as well. I don't tend to use that anymore. I was there for a while, but I'm not worried about it so much now. So that's that part of it. There's a lot more in the ribbon here, but we'll just go with this. What you can do in here is start adding notes. So if I really want to take a conversation around, I need to talk to Petra about such and such, I can make a bit of a list, discuss, whatever. Make some notes in here about what it is we want to talk. I need to talk to you about. So this is where I find it really valuable. You can just drop your notes straight into that. Now I could just save and close that now. It's back in my list, ring Petra. If I want them to look at my notes, I just double click to open it up. It opens up again here. So there's all my notes. I might want to add some more comments to that. Then you can also go across to format text. So you've got, well, actually, I'll take them in a little bit of order here. If I go, so this is the task window. If I go to insert, then I can do other things too. I can attach a file. So it'd be interesting to see if this does this for you, Petra, but generally speaking, if I do attach file, it brings up my last documents that I've worked on. So I might just throw this in here.
Okay, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, so again, this is what I'm saying, like you can throw anything in here. You might even throw an email in here, so you could actually attach an Outlook item. So I can go in here and find, that email. How good is that? Just attach an email from inbox straight in your task. And now I've got that task.
Great.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
And you can do that more than one way, actually. So you can even click and drag, Petra, if you've got multiple screens happening. If I just drag this to another screen, just for the heck of it, it's a bit hard to see, but I could drag this email and drop it in. So that's another way of doing it. I've just dragged it in this case. It's just drag and drop, or you can use the Outlook item thing. I could have done it that way too. So by the way, that's only looking at your inbox, but you can go in here and go, it's a fault, it's something in here. So it'll list those ones as well. That's the one I want, pop it up here. So multiple emails, if you have to respond to a group or you're collecting information from people, this is a great way of keeping it all in one spot. So that's Outlook item, attaching. The other thing, if I keep going across here, really powerful, you can actually create a table out of this as well if you wanted. There's things you can do. It's just like a Word document now. You can insert pictures and whatever. But what I love doing is this, link. So rather than attaching these files or that file, say that one, you can go to link. And I could, I've been working on this with Mornington, so I might just want to create a link to that. And actually, because I was there, put it in here, but I'll just go down here, go back and do it again. Maybe that one. And there's my link. And you can do multiple, links, obviously. So this notes area it just keeps going. You can just keep adding things to it. This could be quite a, obviously I'm just adding to this, but this could be a little project that I'm running, Petra. And, there's a lot of things I'm trying to keep in one spot. Can even grab, another thing you can do is, I didn't do this, but back to format text. So if I go across here, I could create myself a bit of a bullet list of things I need to talk to you about. Discuss that, discuss this, So under the format text. So it's a great way of keeping. This is why I've used this electronic list for years, because for me it's just as quick to write it in here as it is to write it down on a bit of paper. You know, I'm fairly fast at typing, reasonably, but I can type up things in here and just drop it straight into my list. Once I save and close that, it's just back to tasks, save and close. So any questions on that so far? You sort of get where I'm going with that?
Yeah, totally. And it's a bit like that OneNote. It's actually almost getting away from your regular platforms of like using
Yes.
like Word and Excel and all of that stuff, and actually using this as your home office kind of like,
right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's almost like with OneNote, I've really like started in the morning, I open up OneNote and that organizes my day. And you can do the same with this, which at the moment I don't. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and you remember did you do both sessions of OneNote, or you just done the first one?
I did both.
Yeah. Sorry, because I'm around again and doing it again. And I remember Helen couldn't do the second one. So that's why I was just checking. So here's my to-do list. You remember I showed you how, like, I've just dragged OneNote over here. This is my list. I've got my list for today of things I'm just going through. So I've done all this sort of stuff. I've just been sort of working my way through it, following. I should have been checking as I'm going, but pretty much done all this. I haven't done assigning tasks yet. I've done that, and that. So I'm going to show you how to assign tasks. But remember, I showed you how to actually create, how to actually send tasks from OneNote to tasks.
Yep, totally.
Yep. So you could do what I've done here in a task. So I could do this in a task. So all that stuff here could be in here. Yep. So I could do that here, or I could do it in OneNote. Either way. But then I could send that straight to, you know, my tasks in OneNote just by popping a task in here. On the home screen. Yeah, popping a task in here, and I've got my notes here. In fact, I am actually going to do this because I've discovered, Petra, I can use OneNote as little templates for different training. So it's a bit hard to have a manual in front of me. I do have one right in front of me here, just a list of it, which I'm going to send you after I've done this to yourself and Margie. But if I do this, I'm going to create an Outlook checklist template for OneNote. That's what I've been starting to do. I realized these are really useful just to keep going. Yep, bang. These are the things I want to do. So that's now a task for tomorrow. We'll do. But that's now straight into my task list. And I'll delete this since we've been mucking around with it. But that'll drop into my list for tomorrow, that one, in a moment. So yeah, what I've just shown you in the task, you could keep, the reason I went to show you that, Petra, is so you can continue to use OneNote like that. I wouldn't do it any other way, but notice what happens when you do that. Here it is here. It just creates a link. So rather than it being in the body here, it's just now into the link in OneNote. And you've got just the same flexibility that I showed you in here. And, you know, you can now highlight that, and it's just, yeah, put whatever in business improvement for that one. So I'm just going to now jump back to my mail calendar screen and just add a few more things to that. Oh, the recurring tasks. So the other thing with this is any task can be a recurring task.
Okay.
So we'll open up the task. So let's say it was, you know, to-do list or whatever. This is not a good example, but I'll just do this one, monthly report. By the way, I always try and start my to-do list off with a verb. So develop monthly report. And then, I'm not sure if you've used this, but basically you can go across to recurrence and select the recurrence. So obviously it's monthly. And then I can go, well, when is it? Day 2 of every month, or the first Monday of every month, or the last Monday perhaps, whatever it is. So that would be my recurring task, which I won't create, but. So that's a good way of just not having to write everything up every week. And I wanted to, well, Margie will see this now on the list, because that for Margie would be a really useful one because of her business. There's a lot of recurring things. Margie's a accountant. That's how I know Margie, by the way. So she's done some accounting work with us in the past. So that recurrence is a really useful thing for things you have to do every week, every day, every month, whatever. And then this is the other one I wanted to show you, Petra, and this is because you can assign a task to others. So this might be really useful in your team. So, and it only works inside an organization. So that's what I was saying before. Margie can't use this necessarily. Actually, she does have someone else working for her, so perhaps she can. So develop a monthly report. I'm going to assign this to Mary. Click OK. And effectively now, if I send this off, I could do recurrence on it. I'm not going to do that. But what happens is, and I could jump over there and show you effectively. In fact, I will really quickly. So if I send this now, mind you, I'd put some instructions in here as well. I might even remember, you could create a link. So I might want to put a link to, the monthly report. Oh, look at that. I just happen to have a monthly report. That was a fluke. So monthly report, ready to go. I'm going to send this to Mary now. So send it. Now what happens is it jumps into my to-do list. But I'm not the owner, Mary's the owner. So I'm going to just quickly, sorry, Petra, just jump over to her computer and just accept this so you see what happens. Yep. I can still keep talking. So I'm just opening it up, and I've got actually I'll take a quick screenshot here so you see what happens, because you can test it, but I'm going to accept it now, send the response, and I'm just going to send myself the email screenshot back. So you can see, I can show you what she did. I'll just send it. Okay, so that's just on its way. So now, when you do that, the other person gets the opportunity to accept or decline. So I just accepted. So now what happens, by the way, this comes in, develop monthly report.
Yep. Right.
So perfect. So there it is here, accepted by Mary on that day.
Right.
And yes, I'll save the changes. Oops. As soon as I accept it or go, yep, got it, it goes out of the list. But it's in my list here.
Yeah.
So I think that's the screenshot I sent, by the way. So this is what the other person sees. Yep. Accept or decline.
Yeah, like a meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, like a meeting. Yeah, exactly like a meeting. But at this point, I no longer own this, all right? So one of the things, and this will be useful just to keep, if I go back to if I go to tasks now, on this list, I've got pretty much the same stuff, except I've grabbed one more column in here, which you might want to look at on this list. So we haven't got time to customize this list, but you can do this at your own leisure. But notice that I've put an owner column in.
I see, yeah.
So now I know that I can change this to waiting on someone else. And and Mary's the owner. I'm waiting on Mary. So again, I could put that column, this column here, the owner column, in my mail or to-do bar. This is called your to-do bar. All right, I could do that, but I just find I'm starting to run out of room. So I just leave the owner off there. But in here, I have the owner column because I've got a whole screen.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So that, I don't know if you get a chance to use that. The thing that I love about the assigning tasks is if I just sent this off to Mary and said, oh, Mary, can you send me the monthly report we did last month? Well, I know I don't need to create a task out of it because I know that she's done it. I can just send her an email. I'll know when she's done it because I'll get I'll get the monthly report. So I would put a follow-up on that, a follow-up flag on that. But if I said, can you develop the monthly report and send it off to Petra? Well, I don't know that Mary's done it until she marks it complete, because that's the other thing. I can see it now on her to-do list. So when she's done this, I'm just going to mark it complete on her list. So I'll mark it complete, develop monthly report. She's done it, mark it complete. Whoops. Yep. So I marked it complete, and I'll get an email notification once there it comes. It's done and it's dropped off my list. I don't know if you saw that really happen really quickly.
It was quick, but yeah, I get the concept. Yeah.
Yeah. So really good. Now I know Mary's done it. It's dropped off my list. Oh, she's done it. Perfect. But it comes in here. So you do see it, and when you open it, it doesn't usually go that quickly. Actually, you usually have to open it. So I'm not sure why it went so fast. Maybe it jumped into my junk. Yeah. It usually comes in and then you open it up and then it's as soon as you open it and close it, it just drops off your list. I don't know why it went so fast then. But anyway, it's done.
I must say, I think my kids have decided that
that's enough.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, all good.
They are screaming for me.
You go. I'm gonna do one more thing. For the video, I'm just going to do one more thing, but then I'll send you the link. All right.
It's been really good. It's been really useful. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, Petra. See ya.
Okay, bye.
So I'm just going to keep going and just show you one more thing that I wanted to show both Margie and Petra. So with flags, I've been showing you how to flag an email that's coming to your inbox. But you can actually flag an email you send. So if I open up a new email and send it off to Mary, and I'll just put in here flag test. And what I'm going to do now is put a follow-up flag on this email before I send it. And I wanted to show you this because, so I'll put today in it, but I could put tomorrow, or I could go to custom and change the date to wherever. I'm going to put due date just for today, but I could change it to whenever I wanted to. I could raise a flag for Mary. That's another thing to do. I tend not to do that, but I could flag it for her. I'm just flagging it for me. So if I click OK and then send it, it now goes into my sent items, obviously, but it'll then drop into my to-do list, and there it goes. So just thinking about something you said, Petra, earlier, what you could do is you could tell people when you want the email and flag it. So when you want the email, or a response to your email rather. So I want an email, can you respond to me by close of business tomorrow? And you would flag it by then. Then you'll know when it's not done. So I hope that makes sense. It is, the to-do list is a really powerful tool. Given that you both had to drop out, feel free to come back to me if you've got any questions. I find this, the only thing I'll say with this list, and maybe I'll finish up on this, is to say that one of the strengths or advantages and strengths of this list like this is it'll never let you forget anything. If you pop it in there, it won't let you forget. However, one of the disadvantages of using a list like this is it'll never let you forget. So, and in that, what I mean is if I can't do anything here today, if I get interrupted and my day just goes pear-shaped, here's 5 tasks that are red tomorrow. So, and if I don't do any here, suddenly I've got, 20 tasks that are red. So every day you need to spend a bit of time, and this is what I said right at the start of my training, every day you need to spend a little bit of time just reordering your dates. So this one's done. If I mark this complete, right click, mark complete, it drops off my list. So as soon as I've done it, I'll mark it complete. If it's not done, I'll just go, oh yeah, I need to book that in. So drag that down for tomorrow, or maybe I'll drag it back up. So it's very easy to move emails around. So the last thing I'll show you is where those tasks go when you've completed them. So once you've completed a task, you can view those completed tasks by going to your tasks, come up to your current view, and find in your current view completed. And this will give you a list of all the tasks that you've completed for that day. So they're grouped by day. So you'll see here, it's a really useful way of looking at, well, how much did I finish on Friday? A pretty productive day, and so on and so on. So that's where I'll finish. I hope that's been helpful. Sorry you had to drop out. Probably my fault for scheduling it on a Monday when there's hadn't been kids around and all that sort of stuff. But it's been great. I hope you find this useful. Feel free to reach out with any questions. I will send you an email pretty soon, actually, as soon as the recording's done, with a link to the recording so you can finish watching it off. And if you've got any questions on that, just email me back. Otherwise, thank you very much. I might just get my end screen up here, not my end screen, but my finalized screen, and just pop that up here. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you want, subscribe to my blog where I provide a lot more information. But otherwise, thank you very much.